1874 Preview Show.
Hello, welcome to 1874. It's time for a match preview show as Villa travel to Bramall Lane to play Sheffield United at tea time tomorrow. Inexplicably chosen by Sky again. They seem to have an obsession with Villa and Sheffield United, having already put the home game on a Friday night. I'm joined by my Sky Sports News colleague, Dave Reed, someone I've seen a lot of, obviously, recently. Dave, how are you? We've been involved in the transfer window, but it was an odd window, wasn't it? Not much happened. I think less than 100 million spent by Premier League teams, but we've had a good time, and that's the main thing.
We have had a good time. Yeah, we weren't there. We weren't there for the deals or the money. We were there to have fun,
and we did have fun. We had lots of fun through the month. But yeah, Villa active on the last day. Let's talk about the transfer window a little bit first. Brendan Rodgers? It certainly was not Brendan Rodgers. It was Morgan Rodgers signed from Middlesbrough, someone who played against the club recently, Dave. With Duran being out for a few months now, it felt important that we got some kind of player involved in the forward line. Of course, Bertrand Traore's moved on as well, although has he ever played? Not really over the last few years, although he did score some important goals. But it felt like we needed to get someone in, and Morgan Rodgers seems to be someone that Unai Emery is excited by.
Yeah, I think so. It's one that I think he's explained today, really, that the club had been following for a little while. And there's obviously a connection. A lot of the staff at Villa are aware of Morgan Rodgers from their time at the West Brom Academy. So,
if you've got West Brom Academy on your CV, there's a chance of a job somewhere at Villa at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. So already there's some in-house knowledge of what Rodgers has kind of grown up with and what he's capable of, and his kind of football ceiling. So yeah, I mean, I think he'll give a little bit of a boost. I mean, I wouldn't be expecting him to come in and absolutely set the Premier League alight. I don't think he's going to be one of those high impact signings right now. It's one that we've moved on quickly to get done, and probably earlier than maybe Villa would have liked. But maybe if you do wait for someone to set the Championship on fire, the price tag that we've paid probably doubles these days. Yeah. So it's someone that we've kind of got in and got through the door early for a reasonable fee. I know, 16 million quid is a lot of money, but it's a reasonable in footballing terms. So yeah, he's someone who can play left, right, 10. I heard Unai say today that he could maybe even play as an 8. So that would be interesting if he plays in central midfield. Or, I mean, I kind of think that he would probably play in the wide positions and move inside to play in one of the number 10 spots. So, but yeah, he's somewhat. And then, as I kind of said on Sky a few times, I watched the game at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and he led the line on his own, and I thought he was really good, physical, tall, put himself about, wasn't afraid to fight with Colwill, and I think it was Thiago Silva playing that night.
Usually,
obviously, absolute experience on his part anyway, and I thought he played really well. So I think he provides an option as a backup for Ollie Watkins. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be on the bench undoubtedly against Sheffield United, like you say. He probably will be backup centre forward essentially tomorrow, because Zaniolo's added to the injury list, which hasn't surprised me the way he was throwing himself in against Newcastle on Tuesday night. This feels like an important game for Villa now. It feels like the season, it's not like hinging at the moment, but it feels like a win is a must. Although I've said to you before we came on, I feel like we've got a great record at Bramall Lane, but after the defeat on Tuesday, we have been stuttering and stumbling. I said before that although we were stuttering and stumbling, we weren't losing games. Now we've lost a game. It's important not to lose 2 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe not a game where our season hinges, because there's still a lot of football left to play. But I think it's a game that if we win, or if we do manage to get 3 points, that it just lifts the feeling a little bit, because I feel like, yes, we haven't been losing games, but there's been a slight dip in enthusiasm amongst supporters, and there's been a definite dip in performance amongst the players. So just to get that positivity and get that feeling back amongst the squad, amongst the fans, that's why I think tomorrow is really important.
Yeah, it is a difficult one, because on the face of it, that was the first defeat in nearly a year at home. I felt the atmosphere all round wasn't right on Tuesday. I don't know whether it was something to do with an 8:15 kickoff, but it's almost one of those games where you feel like some fans, not all, in fact, not all at all. waiting for something to go wrong so they can jump on the team a little bit, which I find bizarre at this stage of Villa's development. But it did feel like that for me in the whole end on Tuesday. 1-0 became 2-0 very quickly, and then 3-0 straight after half time, and you've given yourself virtually no chance. Important to score, I think, in that last game against Sheffield United, against Newcastle, to get a goal back, because otherwise that suddenly becomes a thing as well, doesn't it? Going games in a row without scoring, that would have been 3 in all competitions, I think, which was unthinkable under Unai Emery probably a month ago. But we are suffering with injuries at the moment. Look, all teams have injuries. It's just the way it is. But every week we say now, God, we need Pau Torres back, because we just haven't looked as good on the ball without Pau Torres. Not only is he a big part of Villa defensively, but going forward and just passing all around. Since he's not been there, there's been a noticeable dip across the whole team.
Yeah, there has. I know we're kind of repeating what we've been saying over the last few weeks, and yes, it is. He is a big miss, but I feel like we're just lacking a little bit of rhythm altogether throughout each department, defence, midfield, and the forward line. I just feel like there's just a little bit of a disconnect. Things just aren't quite clicking at the moment, and I don't know whether that could be put totally down to Pau Torres. I think he has been a miss, and I've said.
But you not think that's the only change? That is the only thing that's changed. You think about those Man City and Arsenal games. Other than him, it really is the same team. But he's the start of everything, isn't he?
Yeah, it is. It is. I think it's a combination of factors. So I think Pau Torres is definitely one. But I also think now, maybe looking back, the Manchester City and Arsenal games took a lot out of the players. And then the Manchester United defeat, I think also psychologically was a tough one to swallow for the group. And I just don't think the level has been there from everyone since that. And I don't think that's really down to Pau Torres. I think maybe it's games catching up with them. Maybe it's, the expectation, because people have started to talk around Aston Villa. And, I had a few tweets the other night about, I don't like this whole story around we've done so well and now, it's fine that we drop off. I don't think anybody's saying that it's fine. Nobody's immune from criticism, but I just don't think you can take the Newcastle game in isolation. You have to put perspective on everything. And for me, this team is overachieving right now. It is overachieving. We don't have the quality of Liverpool, Manchester City and Arsenal. So where do we expect ourselves to be? Maybe 6th, maybe with a good run of form we can challenge for 5th, which might be Champions League, or maybe even with an even greater run of form, we can challenge for 4th. I don't think we should be, expecting this group to be able to sustain top 4 year on year. This particular group, it needs adding to, and it needs extra quality. Now, that's not to say that we can't get there this year, but I just don't think that the kind of standard expectation for this group of players should be Champions League, because we don't have the same quality as the other sides I mentioned.
Yeah, David Keogh in the comments just says the back 4 against City and Arsenal was Luca Dean, Pau, Carlos, and Konsa. We haven't used that since, and it's affected us massively. I think that's probably that's a fair comment, isn't it? The back 4 was really good in those two games, really good clean sheets. I never thought I'd be sat here missing Luca Dean if Moreno was fit, but actually I do. I feel like Moreno hasn't quite got back to the Moreno that we saw last season, which is understandable due to a big injury this season. Ramsey, when he's come in, I know it's not been very much, but he hasn't got back to the level of last season either. So they're 2 big players from last season, not there. Mings, Buendia still not there, obviously. So I think I'm with you that we were punching above our weight slightly. I had us down as 5th at the start of the season. That was where I thought we would finish. I guess we
were never going to go through the season continuing the form that there was going to be a natural regression. There was going to be a natural regression. So this is our patch. Now the question is, can you come through it? Have you got the squad depth? We've definitely got the manager. So this little patch will end at some point, and we'll come back through the other side and start picking up positive results again. I think it's ideal. I think actually the game at Sheffield United is ideal for us, because it's a game where I think we're probably going to have a lot of the ball. So let's try and overcome some of the issues that we've had in previous weeks in terms of breaking down sides. I think this is a great chance for some of these players to show that we're here and we're still fighting.
Yeah, could do with an early goal. Could we could do with going ahead? I think whoever scored that first goal the other night against Newcastle was going to be the team in the ascendancy and the team that went on to win it. I felt like the first goal was vital in that game. I thought it was pretty even up until that point. I'm not saying we were brilliant, but I thought we had spells in the first half and they had spells in the first half as well. The thing that is encouraging me a little bit is that this time last year, I remember it being a bit like this. Unai had come in and we'd got off to a good start. Obviously, we beat Manchester United and we started pretty well under him. And then we had a bit of a sticky patch around this time. But then when we came out of that sticky patch, we won like 7 home games in a row. We I think we only lost twice. That was to Manchester United and Wolves for the rest of the season. Possibly after that, we had 10 games unbeaten as well, didn't we, at one point? So I feel like because Unai Emery's got us out of this kind of run this time last year, I feel like once we do get out of this run, I don't even think it's been that bad. We've lost a couple of games, Manchester United away, Newcastle at home. Okay, fine. We've lost. I mean, we turned up against Manchester United, I know, but usually 2 not acceptable defeats, but 2 defeats at the start of the season. Before any football had been played, you wouldn't have been surprised by losing those 2 games. So I do think we'll come out of it. But I was talking to Dolan earlier and about like the bench, and I was listing who I thought might be a sub tomorrow. And one only got to 8 players, and 2 of them were goalkeepers. One of them was Chambers, who we've been trying to flock. So we feel stretched a little bit at the moment. Leon Bailey hasn't played the last couple of games. I assumed he might have had a knock of some sort. They were maybe managing his minutes a little bit. I don't believe that is the case, but it feels like if Bailey's to play, that means Cash can't play because Unai obviously looks at them as taking up the same areas. So I think Bailey will start because he was electric when he came on the other night. But then that does mean Conser back to right back and Carlos back in.
Yeah, I think Unai did say after the Newcastle game that Bailey had felt something in training, which is why he didn't start. I can't remember off the top of my head what that particular injury was, and I don't think he was asked about it today either, unless it was in the section that will come out later tonight. But from the team news that we saw, there was no mention of Bailey, so I would expect him to play if he's fit and available. There's no way that he will be, if he's fit, that he'll be on the bench, because he seems to be a point of difference for us this season. And he is someone that, particularly when you're coming up against sides who are going to sit in a little bit, he is someone who 1v1 can take 2 players out of the game and create space for others. So at the moment, he's absolutely vital. And I think there will be changes at the back. So I think Conser will play at right back. And I think Carlos and Longley, if Carlos and Longley are both fit, they'll play. And then it'll be Moreno. And I think, again, simply because of the physicality that Sheffield United have in their side, they've got some big lads and they'll be physical. So I think Unai will look at that and say that's why we need the extra kind of centre back really playing at right back. So I think it will be Conser, Carlos, Longley, and Moreno. I did kind of debate with myself after the game with Newcastle whether Longley could maybe sit out and Carlos could shift over, because he has played left centre back before, Diego Carlos. The only reason maybe why that wouldn't happen is it's obvious that Emery likes to have balance with his centre backs and have a right and left footer, and the angles that are opened up by having a left footer on the left side mean that it doesn't seem like he's keen on doing that. So I think it'll be Conser, Carlos, and Longley at the back.
I agree with you. I think for this game as well, against a Chris Wilder side, Sheffield United will be physical. I don't like Kamara having to drop into the back 3 in a game like this. I'd rather him be in midfield with Luiz, with McGinn, making that box and firming us up a little bit. Because Sheffield United, Sai AVFC is awake tonight, not asleep tonight. He said twice there, Bailey's got a back issue. I can relate to that because my back's absolutely killing me as normal.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the update there, Si, because I couldn't remember what it was. But yeah, he's going to be, if he's fit, he plays. There's no doubt.
Yeah, obviously an update on my back as well, which people would have been riveted by. Sheffield United then, they have improved under Wilder. I've watched them a couple of times. They're definitely a better outfit than they were under Heckingbottom. I watched them against West Ham a few weeks ago at Bramall Lane. The game finished 2-2. I thought they were really good and looked really dangerous. They've got a couple of players that I like in there, but I like Harmer in midfield. I think he's a really, really good player from what I've seen of him at the back end of last season with Coventry and what I've seen from Sheffield United so far this season. But at Bramall Lane, I think it's a hard game. I think Sheffield United, I wouldn't rule them out putting a run together at some point, especially at home. And like I say, they went up against West Ham, who have been in the top 6 of the Premier League in recent times. And I thought they gave them a really good game. The game became end to end. I think that really suited Sheffield United. So actually, Villa can get some control and not turn it into a game like that. I think that would be the advice that I'd give them, which I'm sure they're not bothered about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what Wilder's tried to do is he's moved them a little bit higher at the pitch and made them a little bit more compact, so there's less space between defence and attack. So I think they're under Heckingbottom, they were defending so deep, and it was just causing them more problems than really was giving them any sort of positive. So he's tried to move them up the pitch, tried to be a bit more compact. And I think he's probably tried to stop conceding so many goals. Now, recently, that hasn't quite gone to plan. But I think at the start, first and foremost, he was like, let's stop shipping goals and then we'll try and nick one down the other end. But recently, it hasn't really gone to plan. As you say, they've got some talent. People who know me know that I like Gus Harmer. I think he's excellent. Watched him a lot in the Championship. I think Emery picked him out today in his presser, talking about how he's a threat in between the lines and running beyond as well, which we actually found out when he eventually came off the bench at Villa Park. He also picked out Vinicius Souza, who I think will probably play in the defensive midfield role. They'll probably go 4-1-4-1 is the kind of way they've been going in the Premier League. And Vinicius will kind of sit behind the 4 and try and mop up anything in there. He's big and strong. And again, rule number 1 when you're playing against Newcastle is don't give away set pieces. And we gave away stupid corners and stupid free kicks fairly early in the game and eventually were punished. It's going to be the same for Sheffield United. Minimise free kicks and corners. They've got long throws as well. Stop the long throws. Stop giving away balls, level with the edge of your own penalty area because it's asking for danger in your own box. So it's those things that we've got to cut out defensively. And I think, as you say, if we can get an early goal, more the better because we're able then to control the game. And if we are able to get that, I would expect us to go on and win it.
He's gone a little bit back to what made them good that season. They finished 7th. Look, it's a big ask for them to stay up. But they've also added Ben Brereton Diaz to their ranks. Already scored a couple of goals, so we have to be wary of him as well.
Yeah, he's. He scored the other night, didn't he, at Palace, which was a really good goal. And he's
against West Ham as well.
Yeah, and he's added a little bit of extra quality. I thought he would do pretty well. I wasn't quite expecting him to come in and make the impact that he has because Sheffield United have needed a little bit of extra quality going forward, and it seems like he's brought it, and he's brought it straight away. He'll be a threat. I think he'll probably start from the left and kind of cut in from there. So it'll be down to Ezri Konsa to try and defend him. But he's certainly one that can score a goal from 30 yards or 25 yards, as we've seen. So it's someone that we can't, let have space. Let him have too much space around the edge of our box. I think the other thing that Chris Wilder seems to have done recently, he's kind of, and you'll see with a lot of his post-match interviews in the last couple of games, he's trying to get that siege mentality with him and his players. He's talking about referees. Nobody wants us to get a result, all this sort of stuff. And he's trying to create that togetherness in the dressing room and that siege mentality, which he'll try and feed off at home as well.
Oh, nice. Did you do that on purpose? Did you do that on purpose after Sandwich Gate?
No, I didn't actually, but you've teed it up nicely. Yeah. If you haven't seen Sandwich Gate, you've got to check that out.
Unbelievable post-match interview, having a go because he went into the referee's room and one of the officials was eating a sandwich, and Chris Wilder did not like that at all. I thought the feed me line was done on purpose because we'd mentioned it before we started. I was going to say Ben Brereton Diaz absolutely fascinates me because obviously he's an English striker that's gone on to play for Chile because of his mum. So he's added Diaz to the end of his name and grown his hair like Marcelo Salas. Absolutely fascinates me. Ben Brereton Diaz. My mum's Italian, so like if I decided, and not that I'm a footballer, but if I decided to go and play for Italy, I'd add her surname onto the end of my name, and my name would be Dan Bardell Bellisario. What a striker he would be.
Ooh, how glamorous is that?
I should change my surname to Bellisario, shouldn't I? Might get more work if I've got that surname.
It's like Sam Allardyce. If his surname was that, he'd get some top jobs.
I just feel like having a surname like that would help in the industry. Look at Bazaglo. She's everywhere, and she's got a glamorous surname, hasn't she? But Bazaglo.
Absolutely, yeah.
Dan Bardell Belisario. Watch out for that in August on Sky, Dave. Dan Bardell Belisario on the transfer shows. What else should we talk about, Dave? Anything? Diaby. A few people have mentioned him in the comments. Not quite there at the moment. I do feel he's a victim of his own success a little bit because he's still new to the league and new to the country. But because he got off to an absolute flying start, he's hit a sticky patch now, and he's obviously more noticeable because of how good he was at the beginning. But he's too good a player. He'll come roaring back, but just at the moment, it's just not quite happening for him. I do think he's not always as involved in the games as he should be. But I think he's just lacking confidence at the moment for whatever it is. That spell out the team hurt him a little bit.
Mm. Yeah, I think you're right. He's been a victim of his own success because he started off on fire, and then having set those high standards, if you just dip a little bit from those standards, it sometimes impacts on the way people think about you. But I think we just need to be calm. Just be calm with Moussa Diaby. He will come back, and I think the manager has said that he's had one-to-one meetings with him, meetings where he's been involved as part of the group as well. And I think he's just trying to reiterate the message that, this is all part of the process and all part of the progression of Aston Villa as a football club. There's no kind of line of development that you have to stick to. Sometimes, you will have a great run of form and sometimes you won't. And it's just about not being too hypercritical of yourself and just staying calm, and eventually the form will turn. I think he is suffering a little bit with a lack of confidence, and sometimes managers are tempted to just keep playing players because they will eventually find that form again. It'd be interesting to see whether he sticks with him for Sheffield United.
I think he will tomorrow. But Ramsey's back now, so he could at some point go back to Ramsey on the left and Tielemans playing off Watkins, couldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would probably go with Bailey, McGinn, Louise, Ramsey as my midfield, with Tielemans as the shadow striker next to Watkins, and maybe take Kamara out.
Oh, steady on, Dave. That's a bit of a boisterous claim.
I mean,
he's 9 o'clock now, though, so he's past the watershed. But
yeah, you're right.
It's an outrageous claim. Take Kamara out.
I would, yeah. I would, maybe, yeah.
Come on, Dave.
I would.
No.
That's not me trying to be hypercritical of him. I think he struggled against Newcastle, and I'm not sure he's kind of, after the suspension, has kind of come in and, like a number of the players, really been on that top form. And I think a lot of our tempo and a lot of the way we play comes from the aggression and the tempo that our midfield set. And I thought McGinn was better when he moved inside after the substitutions against Newcastle, and I just think maybe there's an argument to take Kamara out of the firing line just for a game, just to see how McGinn and Louise go in that midfield, and then he's an option to bring on as a high quality player. And then I would probably go with Tielemans next to Watkins, because I don't think, again, Tielemans didn't have the best game against Newcastle, but he didn't really get into it, and he was having to do far too much defending because we'd lost control of the game. So to have him involved in the game a little bit more, I think it would be better to see him next to Watkins.
I mean, the Kamara opinion is not a popular opinion. In the live chat, Dave.
That's all right. We don't have to agree. Everyone's got an opinion.
We don't have to agree that it's a very spicy take. David Stark.
Is it a spicy? I didn't think that'd be that spicy. It feels spicy, doesn't it?
I thought straight away, I was like, "Ooh, Dave, it's not like you." That's not like
it isn't like me. You're right.
You've been getting used to the hot takes on Sky Sports News on the transfer shows, and you've brought it into this business, Dave. Yeah, you're right about everyone. Look, everyone does have an opinion. There's 2 opinions here about Diaby that right next to each other that couldn't have been any different. John Steele says Diaby will be a gem. Everyone was giving it out about Bailey, and look at him now, which I think is a fair point, albeit Bailey was across 2.5 years. Sharik J says, can't say Diaby is a victim. He's not even playing average. He's been beyond poor regardless of his initial performances. Come on. So we can't just say everyone does have their opinions, and quite often they're different. David Kerr says that's a Vindaloo of a take, Dave. agree.
Yeah,
Honestly, you've never done you've probably been doing this now for about 12 months, and you've never said anything where I've thought that's outrageous, Dave. But tonight, you've done it.
and I'm totally sober.
You
So
doubling down on it as well. You
yeah,
standing by it.
yeah. Why
Yeah,
not? Yeah,
he's
yeah.
drunk on Walker's sensations, Dave. He's cleaning them off himself before he came on to do this
What can I
show.
say? They were on offer. They were on offer, so I had to do it.
What flavour? The chili ones.
No, I went for the roast chicken.
Ooh, even that's everyone for sensations.
Spicy?
No, because the chili ones are a bit spicy. I've never seen anyone not go for the chili ones as sensation. I don't think I've ever seen anyone else eat any other type of sensations. I felt like it was the chili ones, but we're bordering on Matt Kendrick and Dan Rollington here talking about crisps on the show. Anything else we should be talking about, Dave? We certainly shouldn't be talking about crisps.
No, don't think so. I think
Good.
we've covered it. I feel like I'm reeling now from the spicy take.
Yeah,
So I'm not sure I've got anything left in the locker.
Cameron Archer probably won't play. He's been on the bench recently. Let's hope he stays there for 90 minutes because I don't want to be saying that again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was. I mean, it was going to happen, wasn't it? In the home game, it was just going to happen. So, yeah, why not? He'll probably come off the bench and do us some damage. But hopefully, we're already 4-0 up by that point, so it won't matter.
There's a few people asking about the new crest. It was supposed to have been revealed by now, but there's obviously been a delay on it. I know there's been some interesting stuff going on with the trademarks yet again. There's a very interesting post on Twitter. I think the guy was called Balaban's Boot. I don't know. Oh, you have seen it, Dave, because I sent it in a WhatsApp group earlier, but you were probably too busy eating sensations. Benjamin Thomas says lamb sensations. Apparently should be the one. I
Lamb?
didn't know they were a thing. Lamb sensations,
No,
apparently. Or were a one. I
never
don't know if that
seen
means
those.
they're not in
Oh,
existence anymore.
maybe it's limited edition.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Wilder can talk about referees eating sandwiches. There's no reason why we can't talk about crisps.
Absolutely.
Incidentally, are sensations your favourite crisp?
Ooh. Yeah, but I do like. Have you the poppadoms ones? Have you seen those?
I'm not I'm not.
They're
None
good.
of that nonsense. If I want,
They are
if
good.
I'm having crisps, they need to be crisps.
Well, they are essentially crisps, but they call them poppadoms. I need the comments to back me up now.
Someone will. David Starr says there's some interesting stuff on the crest on the latest Moms podcast. And I haven't listened to the latest Moms podcast, but I will say Dave is always across. Not Dave Michaels from My Old Man says he's always across all this stuff and all the stuff from the fan consultation meetings and whatnot. So do check that out. I'm trying to think what my favourite crisps are as well. I've really been thrown at the end of this, but I like a Cool and Original Dorito.
Cool Original, yeah. Okay, yeah. Underrated, I'd say. Underrated.
If I'm in a shop, that'll invariably be what I pick out. So, yeah, salt and vinegar discos, Lee Johnson. Bit old school. I like a pickled onion Monster Munch as well.
Yeah. Old school.
Hula hoops. Like a salt and vinegar hula hoop.
Chipstick.
Oh no, not a chipstick. Do you have that with like a calypso or is it called calypso? Something like the box thing that you used to put the straw in at school. Spicy Nick Nat Lee Hands producers saying down where.
Yeah.
Where's this done? We've never done anything like this ever.
I don't know. What time are we kicking off tomorrow?
Some question.
Still be here?
5:30. We'll be talking.
Yeah.
I've got to go shopping in the day, but I'll make sure I'm back for the Villa game. Of course. Right then, let's go. Because I've managed to get through a whole show without a dog kicking off as well, which is an absolute miracle. So let's go. Before that happens, Cat Cannon says Space Invaders end off. They used to be about 10p, didn't they? Space Invaders. Where's the profit? Where was the profit margin there for Space Invaders? There can't have been much. Right, let's go. Dave, thank you ever so much for joining me. Lee, thank you ever so much for producing. And thank you to those that have listened or watched the show as well. Do all the things that help us, like reviewing, comments, all that stuff, subscribing. Wherever you get your pods, all that stuff helps. Be a show on Monday with Greg, me in the UK, Greg live from Thailand, of course, now. That's where he seems to be at the moment. So, yeah, watch out for that on Monday. Hopefully we'll be talking about a Villa win. Have a great rest of your Friday night and a superb weekend and safe travels to all those going to Bramall Lane. Only one thing left to say, up the Villa.